Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to today's press conference organized by JKLF's Diplomatic Committee. This press conference is being held due, as you know, the current development in South Asia, especially between India and Pakistan, the recent SAARC conference, and the warming of relations between India and Pakistan, which we very much welcome. At the same time, obviously, we have some reservations from Kashmiri point of view. Zafar Khan, head of JKLF's Diplomatic Committee, will obviously give his, from JKLF point of view, give his statement. So I would like to request Zafar Khan sir to go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mahmood Saab and members of the press. Kind of you to come. This is an important occasion and important period that we Kashmiris and indeed peoples of South Asia are going through. As Mahmood says, we welcome the warming of relations between India and Pakistan. However, this must not be achieved at the expense of Kashmiri's right to decide the political and constitutional future of their country. Kashmir dispute, as you know, is an international issue, which unfortunately the Indian government has succeeded in turning into a bilateral dispute. Quite clearly, Pakistan government has conceded on its traditional position over Kashmir issue. And the struggle of the Kashmiri people cannot be termed as terrorism. We have struggled for 75 years, and the struggle has been for self-determination and the right to govern ourselves against internal and external rulers. And this will continue as long as we are denied our national right to freedom. Coming on to the events around the SAARC conference, by agreeing with the joint statement with India during the SAARC conference and not to allow any activities in Azad Kashmir and Gilgit for reunification and freedom of Kashmir, Pakistan government has accepted Kashmiri struggle as terrorism. Both India and Pakistan have bypassed the genuine representatives of the freedom struggle. India's invitation, in fact, to one of the factions of the Hurriyat conference is clear attempt to marginalize the forces of freedom and those opposed to the status quo in Kashmir. Equally, only consulting with those subservient to it, the Pakistan government has also attempted to delegitimize the sentiments and aspirations for freedom, true representatives of which in the liberation struggle is the JKLF and also the Hizbul Mujahideen. We welcome the possibility of starting a bus service between Srinagar and Muzaffarabad. We would also like to suggest the similar service should also be allowed between Jammu and Mirpur. However, we will not accept the condition of a visa for this service, as this will amount to accepting the LOC as an international boundary between India and Pakistan. Lastly, we will strongly resist, under Mr. Amanullah Khan's tried and tested leadership, any attempt to formalize the LOC. And to this effect, will embark upon a vigorous political campaign during the months of February and March to mobilize public opinion in both parts of Kashmir and in the diaspora against division of Kashmir as a permanent solution of the issue. Both these months have symbolic and emotional place and the meaning for 15 million people of Kashmir as the months of martyrs, Maqbul Baksh, Ishfaq Majid Wani and Shabir Siddiqui. So these are broadly the main points of the press conference this evening. And we would welcome any questions relevant to any of those points from you. But I think what we have very strong reservations and apprehensions about the way that events have unfolded or have begun to unfold in South Asia, particularly between India and Pakistan. While we are genuinely happy that India and Pakistan are talking to each other, but we fear that some kind of a deal over Kashmir has already taken place behind the scenes. And this, we believe, is a kind of deal that falls quite a way short of the desires and aspirations of Kashmiri people. As you know, we stand for reunification and complete independence of Jammu Kashmir state. And we will not compromise on our cherished objective of seeing Kashmiris realize the right to unfettered self-determination. But as events have folded over the past 10 days or so, it appears quite clear to us that the intention on the part of both governments is to formalize the LOC as a permanent division of Jammu Kashmir. This we will not accept, and this will be a tragedy. This will be a grievous injustice committed against the people of Kashmir who have struggled for such a long time against rulers, both internal and now since 1947, about the status quo as it exists between India and Pakistan. And of course, the point about the bus service between Srinagar and Muzaffarabad, this may be a soft, because we all want to meet each other from both sides. We are eager to meet each other, but we are quite clear and we will not be deluded by this attraction, apparent attraction of the bus service and the opportunity to meet each other as a means to stealthily enforce an international border across the LOC. LOC, of course, exists between India and Pakistan. It does not apply to the people of Kashmir, nor do people of Kashmir recognize it as a border. It is an enforced division, and it is an unfortunate development if it ever becomes a permanent border. So thank you very much, and if there are any questions, we'll be happy to.
Suppose the deal, like you said, the deal has taken place behind the scenes, and LOC is converted to be a permanent border. What would be the reaction from your side? Would you be in a position to fight with two governments?
We, in fact, in a way, have been fighting with two governments, and as a seasoned correspondent and journalist, you know the kind of fight that we have waged and embarked over the past at least 30 odd years since the Simla Accord. While the struggle has taken a particular complexion in the Indian occupied part of our country, the struggle has never been in any way less difficult in Azad Kashmir. It has been a political struggle, and as you know, those of us who stand for reunification and complete independence of Kashmir have no part to play in the affairs of Azad Kashmir, because we are not allowed to take part in elections or any other activities that pertain to governance of that territory. But struggle has been going on in both parts of the country, and the struggle will continue in both parts of the country in the future.
The President of Pakistan has said, and today the Foreign Minister of Pakistan has also said that the wishes of the Kashmiri people will be taken into account. Is that assurance good enough for you?
It is not, because thus far what we have seen is that the representatives of the local government in Azad Kashmir have been consulted, who quite clearly are subservient to the wishes of the president and his administration, and people who are the real representatives of the struggle or the sentiments and aspirations of Kashmiri people, like the JKLF, and indeed also the Hizbul Mujahideen, although we may disagree with their ultimate objective as to how they want to see Kashmir, but they have investment, they have invested in Kashmir in terms of their struggle, and these real representatives have not been consulted. So we are at a loss as to who President of Pakistan is thinking of when he says wishes of Kashmiri people will be taken into account.
So how can the real representative be ascertained, Azad? I mean, in England itself there are over 200 Kashmiri organizations. Even in the subcontinent, there's the APHC, there's the JKLF, there are other organizations, there's a government of Azad Kashmir, there's a government of Indian held Kashmir. Who are the representatives? How do you ascertain that?
There are clearly a number of views in the struggle. There is a view that supports accession of Kashmir to Pakistan, and there is obviously a pro-Indian view, and then there is a pro-freedom view in Kashmir, and indeed all these views are represented in both parts of Kashmir as well as in the diaspora. And the government of Pakistan and government of India know very well who these people are, who represents these sentiments. But it is a ploy on the part of the rulers of Kashmir to actually say that there is no representative. Now we are saying, we have also, if you recall, we have put forward a number of proposals, and in fact one of our formula in fact stands as the only viable and meaningful framework through which you could find true representatives of Jammu Kashmir if both governments were sincere in finding a solution that was consistent with the aspirations, democratic aspirations, and rights of the people of Jammu and Kashmir.
But you've also mentioned the Hizbul Mujahideen, Mr. Zafar Khan. Supposing tomorrow the line of control is formalized and the Hizbul Mujahideen decides to continue with the militant movement, will you support the Hizbul Mujahideen? Will the JKLF support?
JKLF has a position, very clear position. JKLF has a clear position about people who belong to the territory or territories of Jammu Kashmir state. Now for us, there is no Indian occupied Kashmir or Azad Kashmir as two governments or two different parts or two different countries. It's one country. And anyone who emanates from those territories and genuinely believes in a particular kind of future of Jammu and Kashmir state has a legitimacy in our eyes, whether we agree with them or not. Likewise, Hizbul Mujahideen is a product of the present phase of our struggle in Kashmir. We do not necessarily agree with them in terms of their ultimate objective, but they are sons and daughters of the soil, and therefore if they choose to join forces with JKLF in opposing and resisting the possible bifurcation of Jammu Kashmir or trifurcation of Jammu Kashmir state, we will be very happy and accommodating and obliging in the struggle.
Even if that takes a militant shape?
You see, as far as Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front is concerned, we have not given up the right to armed resistance. We have not given it up. We may have put it aside and focused and emphasized on political dimension of the struggle, which is the need of the day. But that right of the people of Kashmir is there because they are struggling to reassert their right to freedom, self-determination, and all legitimate means are means that the Kashmiris will use, and so armed struggle is part of that.
Why are you so certain that a deal has been done on the basis, in effect, on the basis of the Shimla Accord?
Well, to start with, Shimla Accord itself is something that was inconsistent with the rights and aspirations of Kashmiri people, and also something which was in contradiction with Pakistan's historic position over Kashmir, yeah, vis-a-vis United Nations resolutions and so on. Shimla Accord is one weapon in the hands of the Indians who say that it is a bilateral rather than an international issue. Why, coming back to the second part of your question, we believe that for quite some time Indian government refused point blank to talk to government of Pakistan. Why are they talking to government of Pakistan? We believe that government of Pakistan has given in or has conceded on its position, and that is the reason. So that is why we believe that a deal has been done.
Well, a deal has been done. This means that Pakistan government has accepted the Kashmir struggle as terrorism. So, I mean, if it's so, we know that there are that soldiers in the Valley of Kashmir use special law, and they can accuse anyone to be a terrorist. There is no act showing any act of violence. Children can be accused to be terrorists or human, anyone. So does Pakistan agree with this Indian special law as well?
I was referring to the territories which are under Pakistani control. In the special protocols which they have, the joint statement between India and Pakistan around the periphery of the SAARC conference, which ended only a week or so ago, Pakistan has agreed to stop all activities pertaining to the struggle in Azad Kashmir and Gilgit, or territories. It doesn't name Azad Kashmir and Gilgit, but territories under Pakistan, which amounts to, in our view, of recognizing or accepting that whatever we are doing in Azad Kashmir or Gilgit to further the reunification and independence or self-determination of our country or our people is then recognized as terrorism. Now, as far as the Indian occupied part of Kashmir is concerned, Pakistan has always maintained that, and quite rightly, that the struggle there is indigenous. Now, it seems to us that Pakistan government appears to have given up the idea of supporting those people and has left the Kashmiris in Indian occupied Kashmir at the whims of 700,000 occupying forces, Indian occupying forces.
Last time when we met, if you remember, we said that the PLF army was being discussed in the corridors for power, especially by Paul. What happened?
I didn't say that they were discussing it. I said that if I remember, if I recall correctly, that they were taking interest. Yeah. We don't know. I mean, we are also probing the possibility of a meeting with the Foreign Office to ascertain what their feelings are on these developments. But public statements over India and Pakistan developments have been, I mean, we all know what public statements have been about by the Foreign Secretary here and also in the State Department and the Secretary of State in America.
How many more years do we have to carry on this struggle?
This,
Any idea?
well, I mean, it's curious that you ask as a Kashmiri. You no doubt would recognize and accept the there's sort of a genuine feeling in Kashmir um, about this dreaded ceasefire line, LOC, which has separated one body in 2 or 3 parts. And you know how genuine the aspiration is to be one. And I think as long as there is a genuine feeling of a wrong felt by people of Kashmir, the struggle will continue. I mean, make no mistake that if a deal is done tomorrow and LOC is formalized as an international border, it would be a fallacy on the part of rulers in Islamabad and New Delhi to believe that the Kashmiris will give up the struggle for reunification and freedom.
In your assessment, do you think that the desire for independent Kashmir is the predominant desire on both sides of the LOC?
We believe so very strongly, but we say, well look, if you dispute our belief, then let put it to the test. And the test is the democratic will of the people. Now, we put forward the formula, a democratic framework. We can ascertain the wishes of the people, whether they want to become an independent country or want to accede to either India or Pakistan.
What would be your answer to those people who say that if Bengal was partitioned, if Punjab was partitioned, why can't Kashmir be partitioned?
Well, you see, let's ask the people of Kashmir.
The people of Punjab wouldn't ask the people of Bengal.
It was a different situation, different time. Perhaps in 1947, a kind of solution of the Kashmir issue that we don't necessarily support may well have taken place. But today, when we have nearly 200 independent sovereign states in the world, even tiniest little atolls somewhere in the Pacific, like Bougainville, have representation on the United Nations with maybe just 50,000 or 70,000 population. The 15 million Kashmiris have a very strong composite identity, stretching back, well, if not 5,000 years, certainly the past 1,500 to 2,000 years. So, I mean, that is the reason. But I say, let's put it to the will of the people of Kashmir. But what is the problem with, going to the people of Kashmir? Nehru said he would go to the people of Kashmir. Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah said, yeah, Kashmiris should now assume their independence after the lapse of paramountcy on 14th of August 1947. Lord Mountbatten said, yes, we will ask the people of Kashmir. United Nations said, yes. On the
because all of them who said yes were probably had it in the context of either a decision that Kashmir would join India or Pakistan, which is what the 630 odd princely states did.
Well,
none of them went for independence, and those who went for independence, we all know what happened.
Yeah. Not if you look at the UN resolution of 13th August 1948, that clearly stated or implied all possible options. And you see, if you want a durable solution of a problem, an intractable, so-called intractable problem, then you must allow the people to exercise all the options that are consistent with democratic values, that are consistent with the rights and aspirations of people.
Would any formalization of the line of control be acceptable in a situation in which there are completely soft borders, not as it is today, that if you want a visa you have to wait for 6 months and then the visa comes in. Maybe 1 year, 2 years down the line, I don't know, there might be a situation in which borders are very soft, people can go and meet their relatives for weddings and everything.
Well, our position is that let there be interaction. Let's start the bus service between Srinagar and Muzaffarabad. Let's start it also from Jammu to Mirpur in the south. There are divided families all over Kashmir, but we will not accept visas for people coming from each side. If you mean soft borders means visas, then no, that is not a starter, because that means you are recognizing two halves of the same country as belonging to somebody else and not people of Kashmir.
What he meant was, soft borders and people will start meeting each other. Would Kashmiris accept this sort of status quo for future to come?
I think the proposed bus service means that they will have some kind of opening of the border. But formalizing borders means formalizing. It means the status quo becomes formalized. Status quo as it is.
You can have travel without visa, but they can be formal borders. I mean, you can travel from here to France without a visa. You don't need anything. You just show your passport. Nobody even looks at the passport, and you want to. But there's a border. They're different countries.
Well, there is a union in France and Britain. There is a political union of a sort. We don't have that in South Asia. That may be something 20 years, 30 years hence a possibility. But I think we entertain that when we come to that, in terms of where Kashmir would be at that time. But if you formalize it as an international border and then make it soft in terms of travel, now that would still be a stealthy move towards dividing Kashmir on permanent basis. It's the permanent division that we do not accept and we will not accept. By all means, make things soft. But it appears that around Karen and Titwal area, which areas that are quite familiar to you and not so very far away from where you originate, the softeners shown by the Indians for a few weeks has become quite hardened, where people were able to actually talk to each other across the river and across the lines.
So, Governor, do you accept the argument that if you say that the majority of Kashmiris want independence, then the natural reaction from Pakistanis is that why should we put our country on the line for this? We have sympathy, like we have sympathy with other Muslim people in Palestine and Chechnya and other parts of the world. But then we shouldn't put why do we have to put our existence, our future, our economic development, our social development, everything on the line? Because after all, India is a neighbor which is 7 times our size. And do you accept that therefore there might be a lessening on the side of Pakistan, a understandable lessening of that if there is such a feeling that is arising in Pakistan, then the government of Pakistan will have to respond to that. And it will be justifiable for the government of Pakistan to respond to that.
I think the man in the street, as it were, the proverbial man in the street in Pakistan, is a well-wisher of Kashmiri people. Just as a Kashmiri man in the street or woman in the street is a well-wisher of Pakistan. And naturally they would like to help the Kashmiri people become free. But the priorities of the establishment, whether economic, military, or political establishments, may have changed over the past few years. Now, the sentiment of independence of the Kashmiri people may have something to do with it. But then Kashmir is an important region for Pakistan. And Kashmiris and Pakistanis have many common values and relations and links. Now, an independent Kashmir does not mean that it is non-beneficial to the to Pakistani state. It will be just as much beneficial to Pakistan and indeed India as a Kashmir which is integrated into Pakistan. Now, an integrated Kashmir and an enforced integration of Kashmir may not necessarily be in the interest of Pakistan, future Pakistan. It is smaller than Punjab. It may start complaining about hegemony of Punjab. And people who have struggled and invested by way of tens of thousands of their lives to achieve something, when they find in an integrated position with Pakistan, that their rights and aspirations are not safeguarded, they may create problems for Pakistan. So it's much better in our view to have a friendly and Kashmir which is independent and sovereign and has very good relations with both India and Pakistan. And in fact, this is what we advocate. We advocate friendship between India and Pakistan, and it is us, JKLF, who said long time ago that Kashmir must become a bridge of peace, prosperity and friendship between India and Pakistan. And indeed, independent Kashmir can do that, and acceded Kashmir may not. And then, you know, there's also a question of India. Would India accept accession of Kashmir to Pakistan? I think not. And we have, it's our considered view.
India is also not going to accept an independent Kashmir.
That may become,
By what
yeah.
India accepts them.
Yeah, that may not, I mean, that may not be, I mean, India does not recognize the present position. India considers Kashmir as a done and dusted deal and settled issue. It's not settled. As it settled, no. Nehru said in the 50s, early 50s, when referring to the aspiration or the sentiment of azadi or freedom, and he used the Hindi or Urdu word giste gis jayegi, kya chahat, khash, you know, the aspiration, but it never eroded. The sentiment for freedom has never eroded. Kashmiris at every opportunity actually rose up against the Indian rule, and so they have engaged in 700,000 Indian troops, not for a picnic, you know, in Kashmir over the past 15 years. So India may not like it, but it's inevitable that some kind of solution around the aspirations of Kashmiri people will have to be concluded. Otherwise, you know, there would be a solution. Any other?
Do you think, Musharraf, put it this way, what sort of problem will Musharraf have in persuading the people of Pakistan to accept the sort of deal that you think he's done?
I think the Pakistan government is in for a turbulent period with people of Pakistan, let alone Kashmiris. I mean, of course, there are certain Kashmiri elements on both sides who can be bought and sold, you know. But in Pakistan itself, there is a very strong constituency, political and also at popular level, at grassroots level, who will oppose a deal of that nature with India. This I'm sure of. I mean, as a political activist, I'm certain that the government of Pakistan will face problems, tremendous problems. Farooq sahab, aap kuch kar rahe hain?
मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था कि आपने कहा ना कि ये बसें चलना चाहिए, ठीक है, वीज़ा नहीं होना चाहिए।
जी, मैंने ये कहा है कि बस आप चलाएं, अच्छी बात है। जो बिखरे हुए ख़ानदान हैं तकरीबन 55-56 बरसों से वो जो हैं वो मिलेंगे, लेकिन इस मकसद के लिए ना आप चलाएं कि दो जो आज़ाद मुल्क हैं उनमें बसें चल रही हैं। ये एक ही मुल्क है जिसका फैसला अभी होना है।
लेकिन जब तक कि ये कश्मीर का मसला हल न हो जाए, तो उस वक्त तक तो ये बसें जो चलेंगी तो कश्मीर का मसला बाकी है।
जी जी।
तो उस वक्त तो ज़ाहिर है इंडिया के लोग आएंगे तो वो तो वीज़ा लेना होगा, या पाकिस्तान के लोग जाएंगे तो वीज़ा तो लेना होगा।
नहीं, मतलब मेरा यह है कि आप मुजफ्फराबाद और श्रीनगर के दरमियान बस चला रहे हैं। श्रीनगर और मुजफ्फराबाद कश्मीर के शहर हैं, वो इंडिया और पाकिस्तान के शहर, या वहाँ के जो शहरी हैं वो पाकिस्तानी या इंडियन नहीं है, वो कश्मीरी हैं दोनों तरफ के।
अगर इस वक्त है ना, इस वक्त तो वो इंडिया है,
नहीं,
अगर इंडिया है,
नहीं, वो इंडिया नहीं है, वो इंडिया के नज़दीक इंडिया है, हमारे नज़दीक वो इंडिया नहीं है।
ना आपके, लेकिन वैसे ये
Suppose the bus service starts, and over a period of the next 12 months, 18 months, you find hundreds and thousands of Kashmiris on both sides going, taking visas, traveling from there to there, to there, in the tens of thousands. Then with that, would you think that that's taking the bottom out of your argument?
I think the machinery, this bureaucratic machinery both in India and Pakistan, actually is not geared. It will take extraordinary effort on both countries to issue hundreds and thousands of or tens of thousands of visas like that. But what I think what is important to remember here is that no political party, even Sardar Qayyum yesterday said that he will not accept visa. Now you see, it has a symbolic connotations. Visa for someone traveling, getting on a bus in Srinagar to travel to Muzaffarabad or vice versa. It has tremendous political symbolic connotations about the future status of Jammu Kashmir state. And even people like Sardar Qayyum, whom we consider very close to Islamabad, and whose ideologies about Kashmir's future is accession to Pakistan, said over his dead body, because it has a certain connotations. Now, so I mean, that apart, the bureaucracy, in India and Pakistan is not efficient, where they will issue tens of thousands of visas to Kashmiris. I mean, what is happening to divided families.
They're increasing the number of staff. In
Yes, but even at the height of the numbers, what happened, Karachi and Bombay divided families, or Lahore and Delhi or whatever.
And Pakistan has today moved for easing of the visa procedure, which I think will be accepted.
Yes, they are warming to each other, which is very good, and we are all for it. But what we are saying, look, solve the Kashmir issue. India and Pakistan are very important. They are extremely important about the future of Kashmir. Solve it once and for all in accordance with the wishes of Kashmiri people, within the framework of justice, political justice, within the framework of democratic values, within keeping in mind the historic struggle of the people of Kashmir, not to ignore their aspirations. That is what we actually are advocating. And of course, we are all for good relations between India and Pakistan. We were using this language long time, decade, at least 2 decades ago. We proposed so many conferences between Kashmiris of both sides and between India and Pakistan in the mid-80s, in the early 90s. Now it's become fashionable to talk about intra-Kashmir dialogue today. But we were talking about this in 88, in 1990, 1991, 92, because we are genuinely interested in resolving this for the betterment of 15 million Kashmiri people, as well as over 1 billion people of India and Pakistan.
Those are the one thing that over the last 15 years that India and Pakistan have both agreed on with respect to Kashmir. The only thing they are both against it. Because obviously both lose by it, so how can they agree?
Yeah.
That's the only thing they have agreed on.
This is a false policy and approach on their part, and I think the win-win for both countries would be in a free and democratic and independent Kashmir. They will lose if they want to trifurcate it, bifurcate it, divide it. They will lose, because Kashmiris, as you know, are very politicized people. They, as I said, for the struggle, present struggle is 75-year-old. It's much longer than the Pakistan movement. Yeah, it is. Perhaps you could say that it is as long as the movement of the Muslims of subcontinent for self-determination. But 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, valiant struggles for emancipation, political representation were going on in Kashmir. Now 47 actually diverted our struggle towards democracy and democratic deliverance from autocratic rule and draconian rule of local rulers. So I mean, it's not something which is here today and gone tomorrow. India has found to its cost that Kashmiri struggle or sentiment will not go away. As Nehru said, "Yani azadi ki taraf gis jayegi." It hasn't actually. It's whenever we had the opportunity, we rose up. Whether it is the flimsiest, or whether it is something that happened in Algiers or Bradford or London or New York. Yeah, Salman Rushdie affair. First two people who died were in Srinagar. Then the second casualties were in Bombay. Yeah, and then something was burnt in Islamabad. That was the third reaction. So you can see, it's not because we are always looking to react against India. Sometimes reaction against India is considered our pro-Pakistani posture. But I mean, I think we are also misunderstood. Our struggle is misunderstood. We are very pro-Pakistan. We are very pro-South Asia. But we are also very extremely pro-freedom, pro-Azadi. Even those people who want Kashmir ultimately to become part of Pakistan will also talk about Azadi. And when you sort of scratch the surface, you will find that Azadi means Azadi. Nothing else. So it's a genuine struggle, and ignoring it is at the ultimate cost of all of us, including India, Pakistan, Kashmir.
Kashmir is divided because of India and Pakistan. And do you think that it's important that India and Pakistan start talking, and also that they will need lots of time to sort out their personal problem before starting negotiating really on Kashmir?
I take your point, but Kashmiris are divided, you said, because of India and Pakistan. Today, the Indian Deputy Prime Minister has invited the Abbas Ansari group of the Hurriyat Conference for negotiations, and has ignored the Gilani group. Okay, I think Gilani group is unconstitutional, but it is also a group. They represent an opinion in Kashmir, and by doing that, the Indian Deputy Prime Minister or the Indian government actually is reinforcing divisions and dissensions within Kashmir. Likewise, in Pakistan, the government consulted only people who support accession of Kashmir to Pakistan, nobody else. So you could say that India and Pakistan in a way are dividing Kashmir. And if we are asking them, we say to them, look, you must bring all the Kashmiri opinions together and bring about a lasting, durable and equitable solution. If tomorrow Kashmiris decide through a democratic process that they want to be part of, that they want a division of Kashmir, if that is what they want, well, you have arrived at a democratic solution. If they said, yes, we want to be independent, well, that would be their democratic choice. If they say, yeah, we want to be part of Pakistan, again, that would be their democratic choice. Now, you have to actually work for the models and frameworks in order to achieve those ends. If you are not interested, if you are just interested in creating dissensions within the Kashmiri ranks, within the Kashmiri political opinion, then of course we will be divided. We will be divided physically, we will be divided emotionally, we will be divided politically and ideologically. But as I said, there are 3 points of view, and there are 2, I think in my view, strong points, and that is pro-Pakistan sentiment and pro-independence in Kashmir. And these have to be accommodated. Otherwise, how else are you going to get a representative opinion? Now, there are no structures at the moment. Fine, you can talk to us and we will all, through discussion, arrive at some structures. There is no problem that cannot have solutions. All problems in the world have solutions. Why can't we have a solution over Kashmiri problem or Kashmir issue?
But what about Kashmiri and Kashmiri Muslim and Kashmiri Pandits?
Kashmiri Pandits are part of Kashmir. They have just as much right to exercise their opinion about future of Kashmir as Kashmiri Muslims or other 23% non-Muslims. I mean, Pandits are 2% of the total population of Kashmir, and there are other 23% Kashmiris who are not Muslims. See, 25% of the population is non-Muslim, and Pandits comprise maybe 2% maximum of that 25%. But Pandits are an essential part and parcel of the valley, culture of the valley of Kashmir. And so they have just as much right as any other valleyite about the future of Kashmir. But then Pandits also have to make a decision as to where they stand. Do they stand with the Kashmiris or do they stand with India? At the moment, unfortunately, we are of the opinion that the Pandits are, or at least some of their organizations are sending very confused signals. Panoon Kashmir, for example, is sending very confused signals about how they want to see Kashmir in the future. But we, JKLF, does not see a communal future for Kashmir. We are very much a nationalist organization who advocate a national self-determination of the Jammu and Kashmir state. Pandits are part of that. So to see 200,000 Pandits in Kashmir out of a population of an estimated 15 million. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.